Hello everyone, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. It's finished at the Etihad. Manchester City 2, Newcastle 0. It's a defeat, so everyone's still going to be a bit annoyed and frustrated. I kind of said before the game started, I don't want to see Newcastle just crumble and give Manchester City so much respect, and it could be a 4 or 5-0. I think it was marginally a bit better than that, but not much more marginally. We barely laid the glove on them on Boxing Day of all days. No, it was just one of those games for us. It was more or less damage limitation from the very, very beginning. Edison's had nothing to do for Manchester City, really. He's had 2 saves, which we'll mention later by a particular player. But Newcastle, it was tough to watch at times. It was deflating to watch at times. But get your comments in. We'll get through your comments as the Fan Reaction Show is going to be on at 10:15. So I'll be with you for the next 12-13 minutes, talking all things Newcastle and Manchester City at the Etihad. Changes were made from the Brentford game, which we kind of expected. Callum Wilson not involved. Didn't even play any of the game today. It was Joe Linton up front, which you just know you're not going to really get any chances or any goals from Joe Linton. I don't think he even had a chance on target or a chance in general today. I don't think he was there to do that. I think he was there to hold the ball up and try and get other players into play, as he tried to get Almiron into play. And Jacob Murphy, who both played the majority. I think Murphy played the whole 90 minutes. I'd argue he's probably our best player today, Jacob Murphy. But we'll mention his performance a little bit later on. But Newcastle started okay. Again, didn't lay a glove on Manchester City's defence, but we're a little bit higher up on the pitch. It was just Manchester City's first proper chance they took. And Cancelo, who was probably Manchester City's man of the match today, found himself in the middle of just outside the box. And Miggy goes out to Cancelo and he plays a lovely ball past Richie, who obviously was playing left wing back today. Sterling's in the path, he's in the box. He takes his time after zigging and zagging out of the 6-yard box and passes it to Gundogan, who finds the smallest gap. And there he is. Sergio Aguero there. Ilkay Gundogan, rather, getting the goal for Manchester City. And that was 1-0, and you're thinking, this is going to be a long, I think 75 minutes are still left on the clock. What was important is that Newcastle didn't crumble and Man City make it 2 or 3 before half time. Then it's a really, really difficult second half to watch. Newcastle just about, and I say just about because Kevin De Bruyne didn't make, I don't know how he didn't score. He was through 1-on-1, and you're thinking of all the players who's going to put that in the back of the net, you think Kevin De Bruyne would be the one that would score. But Guardiola, how many times we said this season, Guardiola made a fantastic save to keep Newcastle in it, and he did. It was a great save. City were always in control, the amount of possession, and this is a stat that's it's becoming the norm now. Manchester City had 76% possession in the whole game today. I've seen some stat that Newcastle had 15% possession in the second half. 15% possession in the second half. I've just seen a tweet of Alex Hurst, the former chair of the NUST Trust. Port Vale played Manchester City in the FA Cup a couple of years ago and had 22% possession. Newcastle had 24% possession today. Just 2% more possession against a Port Vale. I think we're in League 2 at the minute. I could be wrong. That's the sort of standard it is at the minute. It's not good. It's not good. Sterling, again, was causing us issues. Kieran Clark made a fantastic header, actually, from a Manchester City cross, rather, on the right-hand side. Put his head in it against Ruben Diaz. And, you know, he's a brave lad, Kieran Clark, to put his head where it hurt. And it was heroic defending at that point. But Newcastle was still in the game at 1-0. They were still in the game, and you're thinking, what chances can we create towards the end of the first half? We didn't really. We had a couple of free kicks, a couple of crosses, which Manchester City dealt with by just getting over the crossbar, but Edison didn't have to catch a ball, I don't think. We had a couple of corners, but end of the first half, we had absolutely nothing. I think probably the closest I can think of is that we did have a cross that was flicked on, but I think it might have been Kieran Clark at the far post to try to get a foot out, but I think even Manchester City kept the ball in. I think De Bruyne kept the ball in. That's how much of a half chance it was. But let's get a few of your comments in before we go into the second half of the quick thoughts. Can I, Newcastle 2, can I just copy and paste what I said last week? Andrew Bell says, scoreline did not reflect the dominance Manchester City had. You can argue that. They did have a lot of chances, and second half they had more chances as well, which I'll touch about in a second. Kenneth Watson, Merry Christmas, Johnny. Merry Christmas to you, Kenneth. Bigger fish to fry this season. Move on from tonight. Come on, the 2. It's not much easier, though, Kenneth. It's Liverpool on the 30th at St. James's. Hugo says, tough game. Bruce tried to do it the right thing, but the tactics were meh. But we go again. If you told we were going to lose 2-0 away to City, I would have laughed. We move on. James Bishop, Darla was our man of the match. Darla was, and it's been. I'd love to know how many times we've given a man the match on scoring the players. I'd love to think it's probably more than half the games. It's either him or Callum Wilson half the time. Thomas says, I thought Clark was good today. I thought he was very good at times. Kieran Clark. He's probably, there's a bit of discussion between the lads who we think the best centre half is at the club, but Kieran Clark's not put a foot wrong at Newcastle. You can count on one hand how many bad games he's had for the club. One of those things where you can discuss it, but I think Kieran Clark at the minute has to stay in that defence as long as he's fit and not burnt out. Keelan says, Jamal Lewis is the worst defender in the Premier League. What's the point of bringing Andy Carroll as well? Might as well play with 10 men instead of him or Joe Linton. Why was Wilson not playing? It was mentioned that he had a bit of a knock. I think he was just on the bench just to show that he was on the bench, to be honest. But yeah, you can't burn Callum Wilson out. That's the issue. Everyone talks about Callum Wilson, how important he is to Newcastle, and he's really important to Newcastle. But he can't play 3 games in 7 days because he'll be out for about 4 or 6 weeks if we're not careful. He'll probably play against Liverpool, Liverpool and Leicester, and then we've got a full week to recover for the FA Cup game against Arsenal now because we're not in the League Cup semi-finals. So I said in the preview before, if you're going to not play him, this is the game you don't really play him. But we'll see what happens in the next couple of games. Paul says, evening, Johnny. 4 defeats and 7 can't see it being better than 6 and 9. I thought Shaw had a good game. I agree. I think Shaw was all right. How much more seriously? Port Vale start. I know that Port Vale start was unbelievable. Fabian Schär came back in from the wilderness, didn't he? Him, Fernandes and Clark at centre half. I thought they were okay. Against the opposition they were up against. I thought Schär was actually... We've said this before, that Fabian Schär is an okay central defender in a back 3. He's just in a back 2. You can't trust him because of the type of football he wants to play. You've got to have that extra amount of cover. So games against Manchester City, probably Liverpool now, you might see Fabian Schär in that game because he is allowed to go a little bit further forward because he knows he's got that defensive cover. But I thought he was okay. I thought he got some good clearances, and it was actually interesting to see how he played with Fernandes and Clark because Lascelles is back in training as well. So it'll be interesting to see who gets the start next. In the second half, the biggest thing for me is don't concede early. Don't concede early. Try and keep yourself 1-0 as long as possible. Make Manchester City work for that second goal. If you can get the 70, 75, then you think, right, Callum Wilson, Dwight Gale, 2 players that are more likely to score than an Andy Carroll. Get them on. Nick a half chance. You never know, you might come away with a point. West Brom got a point. Unfortunately, though, Miguel Almiron is at fault for another goal. We've said that a few times this season. Southampton, right in the back of my mind, straight away. Poor goal to give away against Southampton. Leeds, the Leeds third goal, he's at fault for me. And today, he's at fault for another goal. It's just not good enough, not acceptable for Mickey. Clear the ball. When it's in the air, comes down, clear it. Just clear it. You can defend a throw, and you can let Manchester City have the ball back in the halfway line. Get rid. And he tries to do too much and was easily out-battled. It was really weak, actually, for Miguel Almiron. But the ball played through. Fernandes intercepts it, but it comes straight into the path of Ferran Torres, who has the whole of the Etihad. And he puts it in the back of the net, and Manchester City go 2-0 up, and you're thinking, well, what do you think? Do you think game over? Do you think, well, if we can get one, we're back in it? Manchester City were in second gear, really, weren't they? After that goal, it was kind of played at their tempo. I thought Matty, Longstaff and Isaac Hayden tried their best. They ran and put tackles in. I thought they were okay today. It was good to see actually Matty Longstaff start, get a few minutes under his belt. Was this the game to see what he's really like? Probably not, but I don't think he would have done any better or any worse than anybody else in our midfield or centre midfield today. But a big shout out to Jacob Murphy today. I had a bit of not a rant about him, but I thought he was our best player today. I didn't think he was brilliant against Brentford, but I thought he was our best player because he was the only one who had a few shots on goal. In the second half, driving on the right-hand side, it's only him by himself, and he drills the shot, and it's a good save by Ederson, straight at him to an extent, but Ederson still has to make the save. And then in the second half, when we are 2-0 down with about 15 minutes to go, this left-footed shot just bouncing to top of Ederson, and that's awful. It's awkward for a goalkeeper. In the conditions in which you saw, it was absolutely chucking it down in Manchester, which is no surprise there. And that was about it in terms of chances for Newcastle. Aguero had a chance for City late on, which Darlow saved well, which was said all season. But Manchester City were really comfortable. They were really, really comfortable. But it's 2-0 damage limitation. Depressing to say that anyway. Let's have a look at a few of your comments. Jay in Atlanta, I am afraid Bruce will see this as a pretty good effort from his tactics. I think I would agree with that, Jay, unfortunately. I think Bruce would see this as probably not positive, but if probably the best case scenario in terms of defeat. I think 1-0, 2-0, you probably take that. Doesn't seem as bad, does it, if we're neutral? Oh, it's only 2-0 against Man City. Anybody can get beat off Man City, but it's the way we play. It's 24% possession, 2 shots on target. Is that the way we want to play? Not for me. Ben Himosh Fernandez was unlucky with the second goal, and one thing we did that was annoying, we didn't put enough crosses in and went backwards. And commentators mentioned it as well. We did. Why did we go backwards? This is Manchester City, but go forwards. You can't score a goal by going that way back towards your goal. Go forwards. Rory, with players not performing, looks like we're playing with 9 men all the time. It depends who's on the pitch, because Joe Litton looks like he doesn't even belong on a football pitch half the time. Jody Sancaster, Matty was excellent considering how much game time he's had. A start against Liverpool. It's 2 games in 3 days, or 4 days enough for Matty Longstaff? God knows. Peter says, hi, Johnny. Why is Steve Bruce still in the job? That this man has no idea how to get the best out of a team. Good question, Peter. Because he's 12th in the league still. He's on 18 points, and again, we've still got a few games on other teams in terms of the points. We're not really in a relegation battle, if we're being brutally honest, until the other teams catch us up, which might be soon. But they're not going to sack him. They're not going to sack him. The Brentford game was a huge disappointment, but they're not going to sack him, unfortunately. Let's have a little look. Most offensive team in history of the Premier League are not even good at it, says Joel. Joe Linton is crap, says Thomas. Keelan says, get Bruce out the squad. We should get Bruce out the squad. We shouldn't. I can't even read that. It was nice to see Matty finally free, but I read that bit at the end. Yeah, he was freed, wasn't he, a little bit today? Matt Ritchie is terrible, says Dean. I thought he was average, which I've said for a long time with Matt Ritchie. He gives you the effort, but is he good enough for the Premier League? We could have another video on that one as well. Last couple of seconds of my last thoughts before we go to the fan reaction show in the next couple of minutes. Liverpool next. It's Liverpool next after today's results. Is it going to be more of the same, or can Newcastle spring a surprise? If they are, they need the better players playing. And if Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson are fit, you start them. John Josh Shelby, does he go back in the team? I don't know. Sean Longstaff, I think his brother was better than at the day, better than him at the minute, because the last couple of performances from Sean haven't been as good. And if Matty can just keep digging in there, do the dog work potentially against Liverpool, who knows? But Isaac Hayden, can he do another game? I don't know. He looked knackered again today. Be interesting, but Bruce is going to have to try and get something from the next couple of games, because Liverpool and Leicester come now after defeat tonight. It doesn't get easier. It does not get easier. But yeah, make sure if you want to get in the fan reaction show, the link was in the description earlier. It was in the comments earlier. Get yourselves along there into the next hour or so, and then we've got the score on the players and the last word as well with Lee. And then it is Liverpool on the 30th. We'll have all the previews and all the videos after the game as well. From a deflated Johnny, we'll see you all very, very soon.